gets the party started, by the way, on SportsCenter at 7. Welcome back here to The Jump. Zach Lowe, Michael Wilbon, George Sedano with you here. We learned on Friday that Zion will be sidelined for weeks after suffering an unspecified right knee injury. Over the weekend, Lonzo Ball said he's confident the Pelicans can hold down the fort until the number 1 pick comes back, and also characterized Zion's timetable as a few games missed. So, Mike, are you buying the optimism that the Pelicans are selling on Zion?
Not really. I'm not going to be a complete cynic, but I'm going to be a little skeptical. I'm not buying any great optimism, but I'm also not being pessimistic. We don't know, and I don't even think they know enough about Zion's injury to be extreme in any position. If he's going to be out a few games, let's see. And let's see how this plays out all year. Look, I've been around too long and can think of too many names, and I want to start mentioning them right now, of guys who just came into the league with unreal potential. I'm from Chicago. Derrick Rose's situation, no one could see that coming. Then after the first injury, you thought, okay, he'll be back and he'll come back with a lot of the physicality he did after the first injury, and then there was another injury. And I said I wasn't going to mention a name, but you don't want to go down this path, but that's the reality. And by the way, all of this pace and space and guys who are 280 pounds playing out on the floor in ways that they never had before, people Zion's size, and by size, I mean weight and musculature. They played in limited, confined spaces, and they weren't trying to, go around the perimeter and plant and shoot and cut and dig as they are now. We don't know how their bodies are going to hold up, and we certainly don't know with him.
Yeah, Zion is Lawrence Taylor playing basketball. I mean, we've just never seen a guy like this. I'm with Mike. First of all, the injury being unspecified is interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if Lonzo is the right spokesman for injury timetables
Fair point.
In New Orleans. And the third thing is, look, everyone's very excited about the Pelicans. As constituted, they absolutely could make the playoffs. It would be an unbelievable story if they traded Anthony Davis and made the playoffs. But this team is not about 2020, really. Right. Zion is not about 2020. You do not rush this guy back to be the 8th seed. You soft pedal this with an eye on 2022, 23, 24, 25.
I think they got the right person, by the way, at the helm of this with Alvin Gentry.
Yeah.
Notice Alvin's not getting involved in any of the wild speculation, and I think in a lot of ways, those guys are so well served with Alvin Gentry as their coach.
That's the macro. Let's take a look at the micro real quick, Zach. Kevin Pelton had an article when the Zion injury surfaced about he thinks that if they go small, right, Brandon Ingram at the 4, bring J.J. Redick into the fold, into the starting lineup, that as far as their win total is concerned, it shouldn't affect them too much. Are you buying that?
Yeah, I mean, people get crazed about these injuries, but let's say he misses 15 games. They're just pulling a number out of a hat. I mean, they're a deep team. They have a lot of good players. Almost any of them get hurt, and it might be like a 1 to 2 win difference. It's not now if he misses 30, 40, then it's a traumatic event to a team. But yeah, I do absolutely buy that. They're deep.
Mike, it's funny, to Zach's point, you look at that roster, there's not a guy where you say, well, that guy's just not very good. Like, they have good players.
Very nice roster.
Yeah.
For a team coming out of nowhere to do this, and him getting to the whole deal late, I mean, David Griffin's done an incredible job just building that roster. If they were to make the playoffs, if they were even to be in contention for a playoff spot, I don't know, come March 1st.
Right.
I mean, that'd be a pretty darn successful season to me. And win total, I mean, it'll be a great thing for us to talk about and speculate about, but that just cannot be with the guy they drafted. And there needs to be a care and feeding of him that is, again, reasonable. Is there a reason in today's professional sports? Probably not.
No, probably not.
I mean, win total for them is just something. It's, yes, internally they're going to be looking at it, but to make that the priority, particularly now, we don't know what Zion's situation is, that's difficult.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on here. This summer, about a dozen NBA players met via teleconference with league officials and made the case that fan behavior is getting worse. In response to those concerns, the NBA has adopted a zero-tolerance policy for abusive or hateful behavior from fans, especially those in closest proximity to players. Jerome Pickett, the NBA's executive VP and chief security officer, says, we've added any sexist language and LGBTQ language, any denigrating language in that way, anything that is non-basketball related. So your mother comments talking about, I talked about your family, talking about test scores, anything non-basketball related. We've added in there as well, being something that we will go and pull a fan out of the seat and investigate what happened. The test score ones is interesting.
Was that meant to be funny?
I don't know. I don't know how, yeah. I don't know if that was tongue-in-cheek or not, but yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I always wonder what possesses adult human beings to yell these kinds of things
that's a great point.
at other adult human beings. I have no sympathy for those people. Kick them all out. It's ridiculous. But like, what do you think you're accomplishing by doing this? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either, Mike. I mean, look, I'm the type of guy that makes fun of people who take gloves, adults who take gloves to baseball games. So I'm that guy. So, but we've seen it. Look, this perfect example here during the finals.
An owner.
Yeah.
A governor.
And when you have those situations, people have to go.
Yeah.
And I don't know that you need a policy, by the way.
Right. Just common sense.
Yeah, but we're so litigious that policies, it's almost, you have to have them, I guess, to protect yourself and as a league. Throw people out. I don't know that I want to try to map out every potential thing that someone says. You know it's offensive when you hear it. Mm-hmm. You know what? You can make that case then. I don't know that a policy will serve that. People are going to immediately try to find a way to go around the policy.
Right.
Well, what's interesting to me in there is the non-basketball related language, because I can think of non-basketball related language that has nothing to do with taunting players, and that's some of the protesters that have been at games wearing shirts about Hong Kong and China and things like that. That doesn't seem like it's going away.
Right.
And I don't know if this rule is even supposed to touch that kind of stuff, or this is just about taunting. But when I see non-basketball related and I see protesters thrown out of some arenas, that's what I start to wonder about. How are they going to treat that?
Yeah, Mike, we saw that in Philly.
It's trying to cover everything. It's trying to cover every possible offensive thing that is said in an arena. We're a litigious society.
Right.
I get it, but it also, I just wonder how practical some of it is.
Speaking of China, earlier today on Get Up, Adam Silver said he believes it's unfair to criticize LeBron, Steph, and other NBA players who chose not to speak out about human rights issues in China and Hong Kong in the aftermath of Daryl Morey's tweet. Mike, do you agree with the commissioner?
No, I don't think that people were criticizing them for not speaking out. People were criticizing them sometimes for coming off as hypocritical. And that's, guess what? I mean, come on. People talk about manning up. Be a big boy. You can say what you want, but you also sometimes have to take the criticism that blows back. And no, and I know that people said that in LeBron's case. No, I just thought you can say that someone seems like a hypocrite. I had to say, and as I talked about LeBron on PTI, there are things about it that seem hypocritical. I said, I've been a sellout in my life. If something is difficult, it is complex, you may have to say, I've got a conflict of interest here. There is my money involved. People will understand that.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to, again, hide behind the easiest way out. No, this was a criticism because people didn't say anything. In a couple of cases, and only a couple, it was criticism of what someone did say. And that's fair.
I disagree with the commissioner. I'm empathetic to the players. It's a tough position, but the players who have major business interests in China are almost no different than corporations who have major business interests in China, and it has been laid bare what doing business with China means. The issue has exploded out into the open. People here know way more about Hong Kong than they did 3 weeks ago, and so I think just as every company has to reckon, including the NBA, has to reckon with what does it mean? What are the existential questions we have to ask ourselves? I think players who are brands there and have businesses there, I think it's fair game to ask them. And I think it's fair game for them to say, I don't really want to talk about that. Ask me something else. I think that's fair too.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
And that's what, and if that had been said, I put it this way, and maybe, and look, Adam Silver has much greater access to every single thing that's been said, and I'm sure it's been flashed before him, and maybe there was some out of bounds criticism out there. I haven't heard any responsible criticism that said you need to talk. I haven't heard that. I heard criticism about what some people did say. And again, what's wrong with saying I'm conflicted here?
Right. Or even no comment. I'm here to talk basketball. Right? Like that's possible.
You can do that, and it's been done. And the further we got away from the initial Daryl Morey tweet, I think we saw that. And I think I don't know that there was a great appetite to criticize NBA players seeing how sensitive the situation is.
Yeah. Moving on. Coming up next, we head over to Waiters Island as we talk basketball, where the forecast calls for a 100% chance of drama after the Heat announced that he's suspended for opening night. But first, here's what The Jump recommends for today. Head over on the ESPN app for season previews of all 30 NBA teams. Find out what your favorite team's best case scenario is for this year and how many games our experts expect them to win. Stick around.